Rise and shine, YouTube. Today we're going to take a look at the latest Lamzu mouse to have released on the market. This is the Lamzu Maya. So we're going to do a little close-up walk around on this bad boy, because while the shape and the underside look very, very promising, there's still that one aspect of this mouse that I don't like, right? And yeah, you can already see that this mouse is a fingerprint magnet, right? You can see the oils from my fingers on the mouse already. And I put some good amount of time, but I didn't put like weeks and weeks on it, right? I put a few days on this thing. And there's just one thing about this mouse that I'm going to talk about that, well, I don't like. So sit back, strap in, and let's go. Alrighty, what you see before you is the newest addition to the Lamzu family, the Lamzu Maya. Now, when it comes to smaller mice, I'm kind of like the expertise in this little field because I have 16 by 9 hands and I've used so many different mice throughout the time of doing these reviews. Even before doing reviews, I've used multiple larger mice, and I can tell you after swapping to smaller mice, performances in game and everything like that has just been drastically better because they match my hand shape a lot better than the larger mice on the market. When it comes to the three mice on the side, we're going to be talking about how they compare between the Lamzu Maya in pretty much one specific aspect, because there's only one thing about this mouse that I wish that they did differently, and it's kind of the same how I felt with the Lamzu Atlantis Mini. If you already know, we'll talk about it here in a second. But first, let's look at the box. You get the same experience with the box on opening. When it comes down to it, you get a little different intro on why the Maya name, right? Talks about the Mayans and all that fancy jazz. You get accessories. You get extra PTFE skates. You get a bottom sticker if you don't want to have the hollowness, which, I mean, I don't understand why you need to. And you got grips. I did use the side grips, but I took them off because I don't like grips on my mice. I just really don't. You can see here, there's no grips on any of the mouse that I use. And there you go. You get a nice paracorded cable on the connector to where the mouse is. It is actually has a good stress relief. So kudos to companies that actually do this, because you can use the mouse in wired mode and not really have the cord flopping and dangling around, right? And if you haven't used a 4K dongle, this is what the 4K dongle looks like from Lamzu, Trident, everything else. Biggest issue with this is trying to pair it. It's the most difficult and confusing time in the world. So that's that. Now, when you actually look at the mouse, right? When you look at smaller mice, if you have smaller hands like me, I have 16 by 9 hands, and you kind of want to feel like how the mouse actually feels in game over browsing. Because just browsing, the mouse is pretty much just spot on, right? It feels fantastic in hand, and it just, I can sit here and use this mouse all day long. But it's when you get into the gaming where it kind of changes, because in different scenarios, when you're tracking, sometimes people like to death grip in their tracking scenarios, and that's when you put more pressure on the mouse, pressing on the sides. And that's where you kind of feel with this mouse the kind of like oddness to the sides and how Lamzu designed the mouse. First off, I want to say this mouse is the coating on this thing is kind of weird. It's I like the feel of it, but it does catch fingerprints pretty easily. I'm trying to catch it. There you go. You can see it. Picks up oils really easily. But when it comes down to the clicks are nice and crispy. I actually prefer these over their opticals. The Lamzu Thorn opticals felt weird, too like airy or hollow. These feel nice and crispy. There's no pre-travel with my copy. Score wheel is nice. There's no rattle with it. Side buttons, nice and crispy. There's no mush. There's a little bit of pre-travel on my back one, but it's really not noticeable in game. Underside. The underside of Lamzu mice are always very kind of different. They have a hollowed out, but the design of how they do the skates and everything is always different from mouse to mouse, which is kind of cool. but I wish they kind of kept a safer kind of like bottom where it kind of just more made sense. And these holes here, I wish they just didn't have, because you don't need these on the side for skates. You got the on and off switch here. You got the DPI button here. And that's basically it with the little clicks and all that. It's a phenomenal mouse. I mean, obviously you have USB-C, and most mice on the market today, I mean, all these have USB-C charging capabilities, and they're all below 60 grams, right? They're all 50 and below even. When it comes down to how I feel and how I perform on this Lamzu Maya, well, like I said, browsing is fantastic, right? I can sit here and browse all day long. It's comfortable. When I get into those tracking scenarios, when I'm tracking a fast target such as an Octane or a Tracer in Overwatch, when it comes down to that, I grip the mice a little harder when I start to get more intense in those tracking scenarios. So that's how I really kind of put my opinions on these mice, is when in game I do get a little more intense, I put more pressure down on the mouse, and that's where my hands start cramping up. So it's with the sides of this Lamzu Maya. You can't see it from here, but you can, when you can tell is they they don't like go in at all. They kind of bow out. It almost feels like the sides just finished eating a Thanksgiving dinner. They feel bloated when you put some pressure on the side. They kind of feel like the walls are wanting to expand. When it comes to that versus other mice now, the X2V2 are just perfectly flat, right? I don't have any issues, right, when I put pressure on it. Nothing in like the inner wall trying to like escape. When I use the Beast X, right, same thing. They're nice and flat. They concave inwards. There's no issues. They're super comfortable even when I do put pressure on in game. The Z1 Pro. The Z1 Pro has a thumb groove on the side here, which feels phenomenal. And where I place my finger on the outer edge, it does kind of have that little same feeling as this, but it's a comfortable feeling based on where I put my hand into the shape, like all in all. So I don't know why Lamzu makes the sides of their mice like so odd, because it's the same thing with the Atlantis Mini, where the sides kind of did the same thing, where they kind of bowed, well, they actually kind of caved in too much, and the top half here kind of was hitting my fingers when I was trying to grip the mouse. But I mean, that's pretty much it when it came to like performing on this thing, right? I didn't have that hard time tracking. I just had that over the course of time, my fingers were starting to cramp up. It just wasn't comfortable to use for longer gaming sessions, right? How I actually grip the mouse in game, I kind of get a little farther up into a like a kind of like a claw grip. I don't use this in a palm because it is 119 millimeters long. I can pretty much palm this mouse. Um, but I just wish they did the shape a little different, right? For example, I like how the clicks on M1 and M2 for the X2V2 taper down a little more aggressive than the overall, like the roundness of this one. I wish they kind of had maybe a little more like contour in it for like the finger grooves. Wish they kind of had that. And I wish they had a little flatter sides, right? I wish if they did have that flatter side, this mouse would be up there and probably replacing these two on the right hand side that you see. All in all, though, this mouse performs great, right? I had no skipping on the sensor. I had no issues with skates getting sticky or tuggy. Great aspects from that, though. That's really good. I don't like when stock skates feel like booty cheeks, such as the GPX, right? Comparing this to like a Viper Mini or saying this is a GPX Mini kind of doesn't really hit for me because of the side profile on this mouse. It just makes it feel completely different than what you would expect from a GPX, right? GPX has little smaller like indent on the left hand side that kind of lets your finger sit in there. The sides in this, like I said, kind of bow out, which it's just off for me. Now, do I recommend smaller hands to try this mouse? Of course, right? This is a nice, smaller mouse. It's narrow. It's not too long, right? You can get different grips depending on your hand length. And for the smaller hands, like if you like palming, you can do that. Your claw aspect, you can do that. Even fingertipping, right? You can do that as well. I just don't find this mouse to be comfortable for me enough to use this for longer sessions, and that's why this mouse won't be swapping out from any of these on the pad that you see currently. And there you go, right? That's the Lamzu Maya quick review for you guys. Little 10-minute review. Is it the best? I absolutely don't think it's the best for small hands. Is there many different options on the market? Yes, but this mouse is on the cheaper end. It's about $95. It's about $100 something with that's including shipping, which isn't bad for a super lightweight mouse with good performing specs. It's all just going to come down to the shape profile for you. So if you are a small-handed gamer, go ahead and check this guy out because it's not bad. It's not going to blow your wallet, right? It's just, to me, personally, how I use it just was not hitting the way I wish it did. There you go. Quick little Maya review. Rise up. Love you guys. God bless. Peace.